India has come out with its fair set of advisories from travel to also ensuring that it keeps a very close watch on the India-Nepal border. But now let's quickly tell you, viewers, why what is happening in Nepal is unfortunately looking like part of a broader pattern. On your screens are some of those pointers of how things have unraveled in the Indian neighborhood, the subcontinent, in the last 4 years. First, in Myanmar. In 2021, you had the military junta taking control over after chaos had happened on the streets. India also has a very long and a very important aspect in terms of the India-Myanmar relationship, and what happens in Myanmar impacts the entire northeast for India. So that instability has continued. There's an expectation of an election this year that New Delhi has been pushing Myanmar to continue on. Next up, 2022, you had the Colombo issue. In fact, the world saw the instability that engulfed Sri Lanka. The president at that time, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, was ousted. He fled. And unfortunately, there were similar dramatic scenes of mob finding its way inside the presidential palace, taking parts of his furniture, parts of his tea sets as well, as he flew out on a military helicopter, saving his life. It happened after COVID because there was complete bankruptcy, and the people of Sri Lanka felt that the Rajapaksas had cheated them, and that is the reason that they fell into bankruptcy. Sri Lanka has just recovered. There's been an election last year, but it continues to have that financial strain. Next up, Pakistan, 2023. Imran Khan was ousted. Army took over via proxy. There was those elections. Elections in Pakistan are never fair. They are never democratic. It's always the army deciding which puppet it wants to support. But they supported Imran Khan the last time around. But in 2023, he actually did have support. The groundswell was in favor of Imran Khan, which upset the ISI and the army, which is why they propped up the Sharifs. And you have Shahbaz Sharif as the prime minister. That added to the instability because people who still are supporters of Imran Khan have been asking for him to be released. And that instability remains. Next up, 2024. What happened in Bangladesh really had a massive impact in terms of the India-Bangladesh relationship, Bangladesh-Pakistan relationship, India's northeast being exposed to massive instability, and the fact that radical Islamists have been mainstreamed in Bangladesh. Hindu minorities have been under tremendous attack. One of the most prominent voices of the Hindu minority community, Chinmay Krishnadas, has been behind bars since last year in November, facing sedition charges. And lastly, of course, what has unraveled in Nepal is you have the Gen Z uprisings suddenly in 24 hours coming on the streets and taking over Nepal. So as you can see, India now lives under a very volatile neighborhood, and all these incidents, one need to connect them to identify that there is a pattern, possibly a pattern to this, and New Delhi needs to have a response to that in coming days. All right, let's now come back and tell you in terms of what's happening in Nepal, why it matters, and the many levels at which this is so important as far as Nepal is concerned. In Hindi, if you say there is a roti-beti rishta that Nepal has with India, which is we break bread with people of Nepal, we have marital ties with people of Nepal. A lot of Indians have their relations, marital relations with those in Nepal, likewise, particularly in UP, Bihar, parts of Uttarakhand and others. And that is the civilizational, cultural, historical connect that people of India and Nepal have. And that is just part of why this is so important. In addition, there are these borders that India and Nepal have, which are very friendly borders. They are not hostile borders, which require those massive amount of garrisoning that you do in terms of what happens with Pakistan or even Bangladesh for that matter. So that tells you that how this impacts India. India's security risks have heightened, particularly in our border states. Instability will have an impact in terms of the cross-border trade. There are also shared rivers. As far as the entire regional development, that could have an impact. And the vacuum also does invite deeper Chinese influence. China has actually had a very significant influence in Nepal in the last 10 years. K.P. Sharma Oli was known to have a huge China bent. He spoke about Lipu Lake several times. He picked that up as an issue against India again and again. He may have gone, that thought hasn't gone, and China will use this opportunity to build on that vacuum. Let's get in our guests joining me on this edition, Rishi Gupta as well as Major General Binod Basnath. Thank you so much, both of you, for speaking to me. And let me start with you, General Binod, in terms of how things are looking right now. India has been very carefully evaluating this because this impacts us at many levels, from the cultural, civilizational, historical connect to also the instability and the geopolitical ramifications it has. How do you see this, General Binod, sitting there in Kathmandu? How do you see this now in terms of the India-Nepal relationship?
I think thank you for having me in the show, but I think you correctly brought out about the Nepal-India relations as a very close and cordial relations where we interact in many things. Looking at what has happened in the Kathmandu, the Genji peaceful protest, I mean, and the India and the Ministry of Foreign External Affairs press release that has come out has shown the closeness for freedom and democracy we both nations believe in. And our concerns, both Kathmandu and Delhi's concerns about the prosperity and stability of both of Nepal. But when you are talking about comparing the regions of the Southern Asia, though we have there are similarities of what happened in Dhaka, what happened in Colombo, and a little bit in Pakistan, I don't see any similarities of what has happened in Myanmar. It was a complete military takeover, which is very different in Nepal.
Pointing to our viewers the volatility. That's it. There are no similarities between Bangladesh and Nepal. We wouldn't want that at all. But I'm just saying the volatility for India's neighborhood. That's all I was pointing out. But go ahead, finish your point.
All right. And so what I was trying to bring out is, I mean, there are problems here, but this protest did not come as a surprise. I mean, it was an ignorance. There were lots of protests at the beginning, starting of the year. 2025 alone had 3 protests, and which the political elites and the main political parties were very reluctant in addressing the national security challenges and the national challenges that Nepal was facing for its long-term stability. So this is what brought the Genji on the streets and how they have become successful. Now the only path is it's a constitutional vacuum that we're having. So we have to address, before it reaches a crisis, we have to be able, the government, the army, and the president's office has to be able to address it properly with the interim settlement, with an interim setup, and bring it back the law and order situation into back in track.
Let's get in a word from Rishi as well. Rishi Gupta, Assistant Director at the Asia Society Policy Institute. Rishi, how do you see the India-Nepal relationship, and how do you evaluate how New Delhi would be now focused on in terms of the insecurity, the instability, the volatility that is coming out of Nepal?
Thank you for having me. I think it's a very timely question. I would say when Prime Minister Modi went to Nepal in 2014 on his first state visit after getting elected in August 2014, the first thing that he was addressing the joint session of the parliament, and he said, if there are tremors in Nepal, they get felt in India as well. I think that sums up the situation that we are in right now. We have an open border. Certainly that's been really like, it's seen as a very, great unique thing between the two countries, because it facilitates the movement of people. As you said, roti beti ka relationship, and roti beti ka relationship does not require a visa, and that's how you don't have a visa or passport regime. Rather, an open border exists, and that facilitates people's movement freely. Coming back to what India can do right now, I would say India has been one of the key peace facilitators in Nepal. Back in the history, in past 70 years of Nepal's modern political history, you would see that India on several occasions has intervened, but not in terms of any military intervention or any other sort of interventions that India. So India has avoided those kind of things. Rather, India has been in the consultative format. So when there was a problem during the Panchayat era, from 70s to 90s, India was obviously there to support the people as well as the monarchy. At the same time, during the Maoist period, Maoist insurgency, India was helping the Nepalese in terms of providing assistance, providing and also mind it, the ties between the two militaries, the Indian Army and the Nepalese Army, have been the strongest.
That's correct.
So two institutions have been the most stable institution in both the countries. So I think whenever there is a problem, two armies talk, two institutions talk, and I think they are able to come out with some solid solutions. But again, in what India has said right now is India is saying that we request people of Nepal to exercise restraint, and I think that's a very valid point.
That's an important point. And the other point that you made, Rishi, about the fact that the Indian Army has always been there as a guide and a support for the Nepalese army as well is another very important aspect. I'm going to leave it there, but this is a situation, a story that we're going to keep coming back to, and I hope that I'm going to keep coming back to it. All right.